So it's really a good fit for them. He's a starter automatically. I'm not sure right when he'll suit up, but yeah, no, I think that's a great fit for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Would you have done it if you were the Suns?
I would do it if I was the Suns, and this is why. We're starting to see a trade pattern in the NBA, and I think let's call it the Kevin Durant effect, where you kind of knew that Kevin Durant wasn't returning to OKC. You kind of knew that you did know that Paul George was not returning to the Indiana Pacers. Eric Bledsoe was not even in the arena for the last 5 games for the Phoenix Suns. They're handicapped. They traded for. The trade sounds miserable to me. You're getting Greg Monroe, who they're already talking about buying out, and you got a first-round pick. Cool, you get a first-round pick, and you have to spend some money on Greg Monroe, and send Eric Bledsoe away. It's kind of disgusting to me just a little bit because I don't like how players are starting to feel so powerful that they're forcing their way out, especially of teams that aren't really winning. OKC, I think KD kind of saw. I think KD saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and so Paul George saw the light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, okay. Let's get into our fantasy basketball segment here. Just before we start to wrap it up, we're going to do a fantasy basketball segment, and then we're going to do a Pacer segment to end the day. Are you guys playing fantasy basketball right now, and where are you at there?
First place, beating Eric right now, this week's matchup.
Colt, what are you doing?
I'm in 2 leagues, but one league is pretty terrible, and you can ask Mike about it also. But the other league is actually going pretty well. I'd say I have a pretty good team, but we'll see.
EK, where are you at in the fantasy front?
Yeah, I just made a big trade. Honestly, I don't know if it's going to work out for me, but I'm currently playing Al right now, who's team. Luckily, he's got Horford, who's on a concussion right now, and he also has Patrick Beverly, who's missed a couple games. So I think I'm going to get the win this week. I got a couple better matchups than he does. I've got a couple more players that are playing a few more games during the week, so I think I'm going to get the win against him.
Yeah. What is it that's so exciting about fantasy basketball, and what twist does it add on your love for the NBA?
I mean, personally, I could go watch the Sacramento Kings versus the Phoenix Suns, 2 Western Conference teams that I really don't care anything about. I could go watch them, and if I have a player on either team, or if I'm even playing against one of those guys, I could watch that game, and just root for my guys or root against those guys.
Al, what about you?
I'm not a big NFL guy, a big college football guy, but the NFL just doesn't really trip my trigger anymore, so I don't really care about fantasy football that much. And fantasy basketball, you're playing every single day, and you have to set your lineup, and you forget to put a guy in, you might lose that week. And you play the waiver wire every single day. In some cases, trades matter because you don't just have a guy once a week, but you get him so much that it could sway whether you win or lose that week on the basis of, if you trade away a guy that played 3 times that week for a guy that's only going to play once, maybe it'll help you in the long run, but it might cost you that week. There's so much that goes into it. You have to be on top of it at all times. And, our league I really enjoy. We have a Twitter account, an Instagram account, do YouTube videos, and talk a whole lot of trash. So fantasy basketball is the way to go.
Colt, what about you, man?
I definitely like the aspect of being able to pay attention every day, unlike football where you have to pay attention on Thursdays and Sundays and maybe Mondays.
Right.
And then you're just waiting around for that next day. But unlike basketball, you're always excited to see how your players play, and also like taking risks on players that you draft. Like I drafted Otto Porter, and a lot of people are saying, "Don't go for him. I don't think he's going to live up to that hype and that contract that he got." It's only been 12 games in the season, but he's already played really well. And he's been producing, and just like and watching other players and being able to root for them, even though you're not a fan of that team, is very exciting. Also,
let's talk about just a little bit your guys' favorite players on your on your fantasy team, and does that kind of do you feel guilty at times, if you will? Maybe your favorite team is playing them. Like for me, the other night, DeMarcus Cousins was balling against the Indiana Pacers, and every time he scored, I kind of cringed. But at the same time, I was like, "That's fantasy points for me. I'm probably going to win my matchup because of how well he's playing." Does that happen to you guys?
I do find myself rooting for Blake Griffin a lot. Outside of any Pacers player, he's easily my favorite player. Not only do most people say I look like him, but I love his style of play, and I think he's really going to excel the Clippers this year. So I would say sometimes my fandom for Blake Griffin can get in the way.
Colt, man?
My favorite player on my team and overall would probably have to be James Harden. I don't know. I've just always enjoyed watching him play. I mean, I know he doesn't play much defense, and he's getting better, and he's only a one-dimensional player to an extent, but I also appreciate that he is a left-handed shooting guard, and I'm left-handed also.
Is he a shooting guard?
I am not. I'm neither.
You're left bench.
Yes, I'm left bench. I keep that very warm.
Colt's the 11th man guest star.
No, but I've always enjoyed him playing, so that's probably my favorite player.
Al, you have obviously one of the greatest players in basketball history on your team. Does that ever kind of get in the way of your fandom for the Pacers?
Yeah, big Torian Prince guy. He went to Baylor.
Oh, my.
No, yeah, honestly, my team, all the Kings men, of course, named after King James. And, you know, if LeBron's going to play, you're getting 30 points from him, 30 fantasy points. You know, maybe he'll take some games off, which, you know, to each their own, but he's a stud. And then, honestly, yeah, having Torian Prince, we play a keeper league. He's staying on my team for good. He went to Baylor, big Baylor guy, so it definitely, having guys on your team you're a fan of, it does help a little bit because, you know, it just makes it interesting. I'm trying so hard to get Damian Lillard. I've had him a couple years in the past, and I love having Dame, but it just makes it more fun when you can cheer for people you really like rather than like, oh, man, I hope KD goes nuts tonight when I hate KD, so I don't want him to score, so I don't want him on my team. So, yeah, at times if, you know, LeBron is known for tearing up the Pacers, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but at the same time, he plays the Pacers in the regular season 4 times a year. So I want LeBron on my team. If he beats the Pacers, okay, but I want him on my team.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think fantasy basketball is just, it's unbelievable. It's awesome. The waiver wire pickups. For me, I think DeMarcus Cousins, he's an old cat. I had AD and DeMarcus Cousins last season. It was a thrill watching them just absolutely ball on the same team, kind of like Eric alluded to a little bit earlier. But I already talked about it. It does hurt sometimes when Boogie goes for 22, 15, and 7 against your team, and they lose basically because DeMarcus Cousins went off, and so did Anthony Davis. And so it's cross fandom there because they are Kentucky Wildcats, and Rondo's on that team, and that team gets me very excited because of how many cats are just showing out, and Eric Bledsoe, even for now Milwaukee, is a cat, and I like cheering for those guys. But
John Wall's a cat.
John Wall, yeah, the whole right. Basically, there's 10 cats on every team because of how good the Kentucky Wildcats are. Anyway, let's get into our last segment of the day, talking about the Indiana Pacers, our favorite team. We bleed the old blue and gold, but where are we at? Where do you guys think? I just want to kind of pose this question. We're 5-7. We're on a 4-game losing streak. We looked really good when we were 5-3. Where do you guys stand at the Pacers? Where do you think we're at, and what's your just initial take on them?
You know, I've heard some people actually talking down on Miles Turner recently, and how he's not playing to expectations this year. Personally, I mean, his first game he played really well. Shut out with a double-double. I think it was like 21 and 14. He had a very good game, obviously, and then he got that concussion where he's been out for, I think, what was it, 5 games? I think something around there. And I mean, we won without Miles Turner. We went over 500 without him. I think we're going to be completely fine. We're struggling finishing out games. That's what you're going to get with a young team like the Pacers have right now. So it was just like the Timberwolves last year. They had so many games where they're up in the second half going into the fourth quarter, yet they would lose. And they had Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins, all that young talent.
That's a great
I think that's
comparison.
what's going to happen with the Pacers. We're going to be in a lot of games. We're going to be exciting to watch. But there's just going to be some nights where we're not going to get it done because whether it might be not having that star power or just being very young, I think we're going to lose some games. But at the same time, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to, at best, I think we'll be 500 on the year. But I don't know. I think we'll be right where our expectations are.
Okay. Colt, Al?
Go ahead, Cole.
I think we'll bounce back tonight and get that first win in 5 games against the Bulls. I know it's in Chicago, but I think we'll get our act together. I mean, the Pistons game was not very good. We just didn't play very well overall. But, I mean, we played close games. We probably should have beat the Pelicans, I think, personally, even though you got that dynamic duo of Boogie and AD who are just unstoppable. But I think we're a good team. We'll bounce back. I think we'll hover around that 500. Maybe I think we'll be within a 10-game stretch. But if anything, we might be fighting for that 8th seed spot. I personally believe, but I know it's only about 12 games in, so a lot can change. I'm still expecting like the worst from the team. Probably shouldn't make the playoffs, but I think we're still a fun team to watch and we're competitive. So.
Al?
I like to view myself as a realist.
Or a Blazers fan?
No, I mean I love Damian Lillard for sure, but I want the
And
Pacers,
CJ McCollum.
I want the Pacers to win every game. Realistically, you guys are gonna hate me for it. Pacers aren't a good team this year, and that's okay. Miles Turner
That's not true.
is younger than all 4 of us sitting here. He's 21 years old, and he's cursed by playing at the same time as guys like Karl Anthony Towns and Kristaps Porzingis that are so far ahead of the curve for guys their age. He's going to get pushed around by bigger centers, and that's fine. He's young. Victor Oladipo is going to figure out how to be a primary option. But again, Victor Oladipo is a primary option in a league where teams have LeBron James and Kevin Durant as primary options. Like the Pacers, Sabonis will get it going. Guys like Darren Collison are going to play hard, but they're not going to be a great team this year. Now, they'll be competitive. They're fun to watch. They're going to play at a very fast pace. They practice with an 18-second shot clock. They're going to score a lot of points, and they're probably going to give up a lot of points as well. So, are they fun to watch? Yes. Are they, people that hated Paul George and were glad to see him go, whatever? Like, are they better without him in terms of talent? No. But in the future, in the long run, they probably are better. So this year, they'll be an okay team. They're going to compete hard night in and night out.